Hey guys, welcome to Comping with Cassie. I'm Cassie, and I'm here today on this beautiful Tuesday to work on some comp stuff with you guys. I'm excited about this. It's been a while since I've been here in this space working on comps with you guys, and so I might be a little bit rusty. I've been heavily focused in TU, Titanium University, with our members, focusing in that space. And I think a lot of time flew by whenever I was like, hey, it's been a minute since I've been on the live. So inevitably, as many of you probably know me as the Comp Queen, I was like, hey, today's a good day to go live on our channel, focus on some comp stuff. So I'm excited to be here, and we'll dig right in. I will let you guys know. Aw, you guys have so many. Oh, Kristen Parks, I love this. Oh, man, look at all these Titanium University members. And my biggest fan, Mr. Robert Blaine himself. I'm excited to be here today. I'm excited. Ooh, hi. I hope there's some faces I haven't seen in a while since I haven't been live in a while. So I want to talk about a few things regarding comps. Got a TU member who, I'm going to just going blind. I'm going to comp one of their properties live with you guys. And then later, because this is kind of a throwback thing I used to do on the YouTube channel, I may, if we have time, go ahead and accept addresses in the comments to just run through the comps with you guys here, with the audience live. So if you're here, whether you're a TU member or not, we have the opportunity to just get into some comps, right? So don't share them throughout the whole video until I open it up, because I don't want to scroll back through 500 comments to find what address you put in an hour ago, right? I'm not saying I'm going to go like live for 4 hours or anything like that today. But I am going to open up that space at least for a handful, hopefully, depending on how quickly I can get through them with you guys later on in the show. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and address a couple things I've been seeing lately, talk about some things I'm seeing trending outside of Titanium University, that we are seeing, that are coming across my desk, that might help you guys out here in the wild. So I'm excited to be here, like I said, and I love this. The Comp Queen. RJ says, never before seen. Aw, thank you, Erica. I had to fix it right before I went live. Perfect timing on the comp training. Well, it's never a bad time for comp training, in my opinion. Look, it's just going to add to your arsenal out there in the wild, guys. So it's funny because the topic, people, not just in TU say, but even in people in TU say, I wish I could have Cassie comp all of my properties. In Titanium University, we have what's called the comp portal. And it is something that I had built out with the company that we have our CRM with, Simply. And we built it out so that our TU members could submit submit for comps and their underwriting. So we use it as a teaching tool, so you can enter in your lead, your deal with XYZ details, fill out the form, screenshot your numbers and your underwriting, and see if you're landing in the web. Like, if you don't know what the web is, you definitely got to get a hold of a lot of our free materials that we have. They should be in the show notes. And what that is where end buyers buy, right? So this is the perspective that we teach from. This is how we teach people how to comp and underwrite in Titanium University. This is exactly how we comp and underwrite. And so the goal obviously is to get everybody to the point where they are comping and underwriting just like I would, RJ would, anybody on our team would. And so that's the goal of the training. And so I don't want if you're in TU, I want you to eventually strive for that goal to where you don't say, I wish Cassi could comp all of my properties, because you're now equipped to do that. So that's the end goal there. But I know that that takes time, and I know that it takes a lot of training. So it's never a bad day to comp. And it is something that we consistently work on with our members. You know, it took a lot of years for us to develop how we train our team and in this fashion. And we are training people exactly how we operate. So with that being said, I love doing the comp training. It's so funny though, because people call me, like I have a queen closer cup behind me. I've had people call me the queen of dispo. We have a TU member who has a dispo queen. I was like, queen of everything I touch. That's what I said. RJ's like, you should intro yourself as the comp queen. I'm like, those days are over. I'm just the queen of Titanium University. I don't know. The queen of everything. You just sent one in. Jeff, is this? Yes, that's you. Sent one in where? You have one in the portal you want me to potentially bring live? Chat is blowing up. And I love that. I do love that. Although, like I said, I'm rusty, so I don't want you guys to, I don't leave you guys unread. Thank you much. I'm so used to every time the camera's on in front of me right now and being just within TU that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to work hard to remember I'm in live in front of like God knows how many people. Like it's different. Everyone gets hyped for Cassi. Well, I'm doing a little bit more of the public stuff here in the not distant future. It's always a goal. As of right now, RJ is not playing golf. I put him to work on something else today. You know, we actually thought about going live together, as we are known to do, and it's a lot of fun. But today he's like, just take it away. Dig into the comps. I think it's good for you guys to hear the different language that I use. You know, RJ and I have, while we're completely aligned, we have a little bit of different style when it comes to certain things. You know, for example, when I'm calling sellers, I may use different language. One, if it's in the state of Texas, I'm a licensed agent in the state of Texas. So naturally, my language might be a little bit different because I have to come from a different perspective. Two, I may just have like a different approach. I may have, you know, different language. I may talk longer about one thing or another, but at the end of the day, it gets to the same results. So this is one of the reasons why we don't go with a script. We go with a formula. We think it's very wise. And at the end of the day, our skill sets are the same level where we are coming at from analyzing a property. We used to kind of prove this. We used to go live and just show like our numbers side by side to see if we make the same offer, talk to different sellers and, you know, switch roles. Like he'll underwrite while I'm talking to a seller, I'll underwrite while he's talking to a seller, and we see if we come up with the same offer, and we always do. I just have a different language. I speak a different way. I'm a different human. But at the end of the day, I think it's just a testament to the closer's formula. And I think that that's a testament to the web and the way that we approach comps. It's like we tell everybody in TU, we weren't born knowing this, you know, and we did develop all of this together. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're teaching everybody you're going to have your own spin on it. You want to be yourself. You want to be authentic. And so he's like, he doesn't have as many videos teaching comps out there in the wild, I guess. But we do end up at the same number. It's magical. He's definitely golfing. If he's golfing without me, he's in trouble. Like in the middle of the work day, he's making me go live. He ain't golfing. You always learn a ton when I talk about comping. I love that. Yeah, there's so many layers to it, so many levels to it, and we have like the quick study version, and it can get you results. But this is one of those areas, especially if you're nationwide. I think it's really important to continue to hone your skills. On the one hand, and I talk about this in TU. I am not always in a good mood, I promise. I try to be. But yeah, I'm not always in a good mood. I always try to keep things in perspective, even if something happens to put me in not the best mood, though. Especially when I know Carlos is here. I'm always in a good mood when Carlos is around, even though he's always picking on me. So, as I was saying, I think it's vital to always keep if you're excellent at comping and underwriting, we teach comping and underwriting from the perspective our tools are built around being a virtual wholesaler. And funny enough, it tends to work from a lot of different angles and positions, but that is what our tools and systems are designed to teach you. So there are different layers and different levels to it. And I think that this is also something that you should always kind of keep your skill sets sharp in, because inevitably real estate, every subject property has something different going on with it, and everything is in essence based on the numbers, the values. There is an art and a science to it, and one of the things I haven't historically talked about a whole lot, and I've seen this recently come across my desktop, and this kind of is going to be one of those topics that I am always curious about, the level of exposure that people have into understanding the numbers, right? Understanding what would motivate the end buyer to buy it, whether that's an investor or that's an owner occupant, or if that's an owner occupant after an investor, or if that's a tenant after investor. So with that being said, I've seen a couple of things, and God bless you if you're on here. I am calling out a topic because we've actually had multiple of these come across our desks within just the past week. And oddly enough, it's strange. Different properties, different states, even two of them were FSBO'd at the same number. So let's dig into this. Let's talk about as is comps, or what's becoming like a trending way to say as is comps into you, current market value of a property. One of the punchlines, I guess, that I like to always use whenever, I'm talking to a seller and they give you an objection such as, I don't want to talk to you if you're going to lowball me, right? One of the things I've always said to them, I have absolutely no intentions of lowballing you. I plan to make you a very fair offer based on what the current market value is of your property, or the as is value is of your property in the condition that it's in, with us covering closing costs. So what does that mean? And what is that an indicator of? And what am I seeing people missing when it comes to FSBOs, recently sold, recently listed properties? I think people are kind of missing the boat on what does it tell you about the current value of the property, right? So some people have bought titanium profits. Maybe they're not members of TU. Maybe you guys have been taught how to run numbers or underwrite from YouTube or somebody else. Maybe you worked for somebody else. Maybe you've learned from over the years of studying some of these quick calculators that people have. And, I talk about this not just in TU, but also in Titanium Profits, and also this YouTube channel. about why we don't run numbers from that perspective. But what I think people are sometimes missing is that they build an ARV from the data, okay? And they put in their rehab amount and they put in what they should offer in their wholesale fee. Where do they think end buyers will buy? So they may even be utilizing the profit calculator, which you'll see here later in the show if you're new to this phase here. That is what we use to underwrite properties. And they'll put the numbers in, and then they're coming up with a justification on a property that's listed or sold recently, or maybe it was listed and now it's removed, or it's FSBOing right now for $85,000, and they've offered $70,000 on the property, and they want to add, in some of these instances, a $20,000 wholesale fee. And it really motivates me to continue getting this message out, not only to get people into, understanding a deeper layer of where end buyers buy. It's not just based on calculations and things like that. If a property has been listed for $85,000 and you lock it up for $70,000, and then you're putting a $20,000 wholesale fee, like, there is absolutely no point in continuing on here. And why is that? Because nobody's going to want to market that out for more than its listed FSBO. Even if they remove the FSBO, they're still going to just call the seller and offer them less if it really is a good number. So say you get it out there in a way that you put it in front of people in a way that putting it for sale by owner on like Zillow didn't. Well, even if it doesn't even matter. Like, even if it's a good property to them, even if the numbers do work, like, it didn't sell for that amount, it's automatically going to make them think this is not the current market value. You're basically asking me to pay more than the current market value of the property. It doesn't make any sense. So they're not going to offer that to you. Maybe they'll be a good person and you'll get lucky and they'll really want the property because of whatever reason. You're finding a needle in a haystack buyer there that doesn't go directly to the seller at that point. They're still not going to want to offer you what you're asking. So at the end of the day, I think it's really important to understand that buyers do not want to buy a property, right? They do not want to buy a property for more than it is worth currently. They do not want to overpay for a property, right? Not just overpay for a property for what it'll be worth and lose money or make very little on their investment, make very little return. They don't want to buy a property for more than they can just buy a different property. You're not bringing any value to the table, right? So what does this mean when you're underwriting? Like, sometimes even when the numbers might work on the calculator, you're not looking at it from the perspective of the as-is value. If you see as-is comps that are less than you're going to be asking, it doesn't matter if the return works. Where do you see a lot of this? This is something that I feel like I first really got exposed to. One of the first deals that we tried to wholesale in the state of Louisiana. Holy moly, did buyers chew us up and spit us out and try to kick us out of the state of Louisiana, because we just missed the mark on looking at the as-is value, looking at what other properties are selling on or off market, looking at the availability of those properties to investors. Like, the price that we were asking was like $5,000 more. It wasn't even that much more than they could go pick up a property for. But what was the point in them buying it from us when they can get the same thing on down the road cheaper? We are asking too much. We are overvalued because of the as is or current market value of the subject property, right? So I think that this is something that people are missing on out there, and that, we just aren't talking about it quite enough. When it comes to people submitting properties to us, that were listed for the past 6 months, and they're asking with their wholesale fee added, about the same price or way too close to that price that it was listed at for 6 months and didn't sell, you can't count on that closing in 30 days. Other areas where I see people really, really, really missing the mark on this is with land, right? So people are not, they're trying to create these situations where, they're basically thinking they've locked it up at a deep enough discount to add a wholesale fee to that property. But in reality, they're really not that far off or deep. They're not that deeply, they're like 90% of the market value of the land. And so it's not a deal just because it's slightly discounted. Or they'll try to, work up numbers on one potential exit, like development or building, and then justify overpaying for that piece of property than what it would comp out at. And then they're like, why won't they JV with us? And it's like, because you're asking us to try to move something in 30 days or less, usually. That is just overpriced when a buyer can go buy that off of the MLS, and like when it's on the MLS at that price and it's days on market or 9 months to 1 year long, it's like you're missing the fact that you were actually not bringing a deal, right? That they can't just go pay for it. And not only that, but you're asking them to pay additional closing costs in this scenario because it's a wholesale deal, but you're not locked up at wholesale numbers because you're not considering what the current value is. You're not considering what the as is value of the property is. So if you've heard me talking about this in training, this is just one of those topics where, again, this entire industry looks at it on a value add perspective, where you're talking about a hold, whether you're talking about a flip. People are looking at it from a value add perspective. And then they also kind of struggle sometimes when they're first exposed to wholetailing, right? So in that they end up getting too close to market value for there to be a potential profit. So you have to consider your audience, right? And by audience, I mean your buyer's pool. You don't want your buyers to look at it and ask you, how am I supposed to make money on this, right? That's not going to give you a lot of concrete foothold in the space if you're wholesaling a property and you're at numbers where your buyer doesn't even understand how they're supposed to make money. And so this is what we hammer home. And I usually see people missing the mark when they're like, okay, I understand. I think the ARV should be this, and they may be close, they may be off, but I think the ARV should be this. And I'm learning how to, where this is a good property that will be a good flip. And if I lock it up at this, I should be able to move it. But then they're not realizing that everything in that market, well, you may have close to enough potential profit in the deal for the end buyer, but they're not motivated to buy. This is usually why. So if your deal isn't moving, it's probably considered either your dispo practices, like you're probably not doing it right, or you did not consider the as-is value. You're asking too much for the property still, and you don't even realize it because they can just go pick one up just like it, but for less, especially once you consider those closing costs, they can pick that up off the MLS. So something that's really important for us to talk about as a whole, this is one of the reasons. Now, I didn't even do this for the wrong reasons, y'all. So I literally, sorry to everybody else, but PropStream is my go-to for these reasons. I have quick, easy access to all the data I want to see to make a quick decision. So if you're new here, I teach on PropStream. I'm not changing that on this YouTube. So I teach on PropStream because it's the most comprehensive tool. It has a lot of features in it that really add ease of access to this information for me, consistency, nationwide. I don't have an issue comping in any part of the nation. with PropStream. It has been a very long time since I have. It's been my ride or die for a whole hot minute. By minute, I mean years. So I love PropStream. And I'm a big fan of teaching on PropStream for a lot of these reasons that I'm mentioning. So before I get into some actual live comping here, now that I've cussed and discussed as is comps, I'm gonna go try to catch up in the comments. You only pick on people that did you just admit that you like me, Carlos? Go ahead, tell everyone I'm your favorite TU coach. I already knew that, but maybe RJ doesn't know that. You joined TU yesterday. Woo! Everybody give a shout out to TDJ. TJD. Gosh, I totally dyslexia'd that. Kind of. Carlos is cold-blooded. Carlos is a mess, man. A good mess. He keeps it fun. Thank you for your appreciation. Justin May. Hello. I see you. Who wants to buy a property at current value and then it's not a wholesale? Right. Wholesale is a discount. RJ's the GOAT. Using our closers formula. Try the underwriters in the back scripts. Oh, oof. RJ is the GOAT. RJ and I, when people say RJ is the GOAT, I want you to all understand this. I take that to mean me too. Guess what? So does he. So I'm going to tell you, thank you for the compliment, because that is us. That is a compliment for us. You can't see the baby. What baby? Are you talking about the dogs? Oh, Stephanie's. Stephanie's baby. Oh my gosh. It would be really fun, especially since Kip, thank you so much. And howdy to you. It's been a minute. It would be so fun if later on in the show, I have time to bring Titus on and for you to see Blue and Stanley, who are huge now. Yeah. I cannot wait to work with you, TJD. You might have to identify yourself as not TJD. I know he's talking about Abby. I had seen Kip's message in my head, and I call my dogs my babies all the time. What can I say? Repping that first class shirt. This was a total accident. RJ and I barely talked about me doing the live yesterday. He barely kind of mentioned it. I mean, he just has kind of a full day. And I did our implementation call today. And I mean, it was a solid 2 hours. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be in front of a camera a lot. And I don't know if you guys know this, but when you spend a lot of hours in front of the camera, which my partner does all the time, can we literally just say he is the GOAT in that regard? I am not the GOAT in that regard. But even when he does it, he has like built up such a better tolerance, or what is the word I'm looking up? Stamina for those types of things. For me, like it's been a minute. It's been a minute since I want to say we were having boot camps in January 2024 was our last boot camp. And it's like even then I just don't like, we always try to make it to where we have breaks, right? From the times that we're teaching, like we give each other breaks because, or even when RJ was doing the 50, man, like being in front of the camera for that long is wildly exhausting, you guys. Being on stage or with a mic that long is wildly exhausting. And usually like by the time like either of us are done, like say we're recording modules, say we're doing this, say we're doing that, lives, implementation calls within TU, like there are days where it's just like my brain can't do any of the other things. Like so tired. It gets wildly exhausting. And so I am like, I might not get a whole lot of other stuff done today. So we usually try to make sure RJ doesn't do implementation calls on Tuesdays when he's going to go live. So he's going to be live longer, you know? You feel seen. You are seen. I can't wait for you to get in the community. I know I'm biased, and this is not meant to be a sales pitch for to you, but I'm here, and they gave me control of this channel. We have the literal best community. If you feel seen just from this, just trust me when I tell you, all of the members of TU, it is a beautiful thing. And it is a community full of people who are really here to see each other win, lend a hand, uplift, encourage. But we also just really stick to the work. I could go on and on and on. So I cannot wait for you to get exposed to everybody because it's wild. It's incredible. It's surpassed by far what RJ and I had hoped. I'm gonna get emotional. If y'all, I swear I can't hardly go. Ever since we started TU, I swear I can't go on a live and not cry at some point in time. If I talk about it, I get emotional because it means so much to us, and I know how much it means to everybody within it. It's so incredible. So they're the best, man. Like, we're the best. And it got to that place so much faster and easier than we could have ever hoped for. It's surpassed our dreams, and it just keeps getting better. So Quinn, brother, she does not lie. The community it's unlike anything else. It is one of one. It's the best. And it just keeps getting better, and it just keeps growing. And I love seeing it. Yes, you're gonna love it. Buckle up and get ready to work and be a part of the best community, because man, they make my job so fun. Everybody does. And I have the best team and the best partners too. I'm just the luckiest girl and the coolest girl in school. RJ has that pet named Carlos. We changed Carlos and we got another pet fly. You never knew it was that Carlos. Robert Blaine is jealous. My number one fan. All right, guys. Well, I don't know if this team member is watching. I hope they are. If not, this will be publicly available because it's on YouTube. Without further ado, I'm gonna get started with some comping. Are you guys ready to comp some stuff? I'm ready to comp some stuff. That's what we're here to talk about today, after all. And I could talk for another. Holy moly, I've been talking for like 30 minutes already. So much more than just a wholesale community is telling me, oh my gosh, it's so the best. It's so the best. Hyro, you ready to comp? You get enough of my jabber John about how awesome TU is in TU? You fair person, nicer, jealous. You're a mess. All you guys are a mess. All right, let's get ready to comp. Let's do this. I almost removed my shared screen. Inconceivable. Are you guys ready to comp? I won't call you out by name, but feel free to chime up in the comments if you're here. So we're going to get to comping this property. This was in our comp portal. So I didn't really look at it too much. I told some team members, hey, if there's anything you want me to comp on the live today, just holler, tag me in the comp portal. And I got tagged. And so I pulled up the address. That's as far as I've gone with this. I think I read a little bit about a little bit of the notes, but I didn't really look at this member's numbers. Beyond that, and him saying that this was a little bit difficult to comp. The first properties that came up were kind of conflicting. He was having difficulty or something like that. I don't even remember, and it's not really super relevant. So we'll just kind of go through. I love that, Keitha. Man, you've been following us for a long time before joining TU, and I loved it. Like when I saw you had joined, I was looking forward to it. And you are literally our resident, like, what is the word? Motivational posts of every morning, like you share. I love that you started doing that. Every morning, I literally look forward to your posts being the first post that I read when I wake up. I'm drinking my coffee and I'm halfway asleep and I'm like, I should put my glasses on. Yeah, I'm looking for your posts every morning. So you kind of like are my resident, like start the day off with the right mindset posts every morning into you. And I love that. Oh, you submitted a comp in the comp portal. Did you? If you didn't tag me before this, I didn't get it because I only looked, but I will absolutely look for it after I do that. How can you apply to be the titanium mascot? Ooh, I like this. We should have like a community poll that we decide what are the requirements for a mascot, and then you have to submit an application telling us why you would be the best one. How about that? I like that. Let's make it happen. I think Titus or Blue or Stanley are going to really fight you. Maybe all three of them are going to fight you for that. Titus was definitely the mascot of the first 50-50-50. I can say that. And I have a stuffed hedgehog over there. So, I will definitely look for it. I refreshed this right before I hit live. So if you did it after I went live, I may not have seen it. But I'll definitely look. No big deal. By who? By what? By who's he? What's he? I don't know what you're saying, Hyro. I got distracted. Let's comp. Y'all want to comp? Let's comp. Oh, you're the mascot. Oh, I thought you were the resident class clown. Who is this? Hey, whatever that is, love you, mean it. I don't know who Smiles 5.7 is. But I'm not going to ask for public comps. By public, how am I trying to say this? I don't want you guys to submit comps in the comments until I open up for that because I don't want to scroll back. So save that address. Becky, save that address. I'm going to comp this one that I have on screen first. And I don't want to scroll back to find it. So you guys that are putting them in the comments, just hold the phone. Hold the phone. Keep them for me so I don't have to try to scroll back. Okay, so here we go, guys. First thing I'm going to do, if you've taken any of my training, you know that I'm going to go to that Street View first. I'm going to make sure I open that as that Zillow link. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get into that Street View. I'm going to look at the property, April 2024. Maybe some of this landscape stuff could have been handled, but we've got some information. Regardless, some things won't change about this. We figure out what we can figure out about the neighbors as you can. I'm not seeing anything that like drastically throws me off, except for the property I'm seeing from the street may or may not be the actual subject property, which is actually very important to note. So if this gives you any indicator, this is the reason why I always like to go to the multiple layers on the map, right? Not just a street view. Let me do this satellite view. Maybe. Oh my gosh. It's being weird. Hold, please. This is supposed to take 2 seconds. Why is this is new? I'm sorry, y'all. Satellite, street view, transit, traffic. Terrain was not it. They've given me too many. Ah, default. I guess it's called default on here now. Okay. If I'm looking at this isn't actually giving me like lot. Oh, there we go. It doesn't give me a lot of lot lines, but I like zoom in and you see how that looked totally different from the satellite view. Like you're not, or the street view, you probably are seeing this property. We'll go back to it. You're not actually seeing what's probably the subject property. And when you're on this default view, there you go. It tells you which property. Now, this isn't always accurate, okay? So it however has a very high accuracy rate. Sometimes you need to double check if it's more rural or in a county that doesn't record very accurately. Sometimes this will not be accurate. This is not perfect. You can always go to the county records if there's some kind of discrepancy here, but most of the time I don't have to go to the county records. I'm going to end up verifying this a lot of times on the phone with the seller. So when you go back to the street view over here, I originally was looking at this. Oh, owner financing. We might be making an offer on that one too. I'm now going to try to go over here and see if I can see anything back there. And I don't feel like I can. So this is going to be a real kicker. Sometimes I will just skip going here because I usually will pull this up for very specific reasons. But sometimes I just skip over it because I may only come back to it. I look quick if there's like photos. There's not photos. I may come back to it to look for rental numbers. Sometimes I'll go to Redfin or realtor.com if I'm looking for more photos. And then I'll just go straight into here, and we get to comping. So, la 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 la. I'm not firing your product. Double yellow line. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but this is not really applicable to me in this situation. I think maybe it's just a requirement for the fact that it's a county road. This isn't something in this regard that I'm super concerned about because this is just the way this residential neighborhood looks. But that is a good point. It is something that I do bring up. But when it's like this, like sometimes that just doesn't a factor. You know what I'm saying? Like for traffic reasons, like my comps will still be comping, if that makes sense. I'm not worried about resale value or it impacting the value of the property, in other words. So the first thing that I noticed is we do have photos here. We've got 2846 square feet, which interestingly enough is lower than the square footage that was actually input by the member, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I can pull that back up. I don't even think I have it still pulled up. I don't. I believe the member said that this was actually 3,200 square feet, so it should be interesting. It's on a lot of land, 1985. We do have photos, and there is MLS history. 53, da 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 da. This was the square footage that was entered in. So taxable area, that's real interesting because it makes me wonder if they converted the garage. Or something to that effect. But there are photos. So most of the time I don't spend a whole lot of time there. You have a recent listing. So what does this tell us actually about the current market value? It is lower than this number more than likely. nestled on 2.4 acres. Living space is 2846. So this actually might have been where things went wrong. Is the square footage. This wasn't listed very long for there to be a cancellation. So this is also sometimes why I make sure I have this, because I really kind of want to go see if that's accurate. One of the things on PropStream is sometimes you want to check that in certain states, but it is seemingly accurate. And that's kind of a short amount of time for it to be listed. Now, that could be for a number of reasons. So you don't want to go too into the reasons why. That number could have been a number the realtor regretted listing the property for. And maybe the seller was not amicable to lowering the price because they just weren't letting the market prove that to them. Quinn, listen, save it. If you're putting it in the show notes or in the comments, I'm not going to scroll back up and find that. Okay. So wait until I open up the comments to put addresses in there, because I'm not going to scroll back and look for that for you. I love you. I mean it. But it wastes time on the live. You know what I mean? It's distracting for me. And then I end up going, duh, while I'm scrolling back and looking to see if I missed any. And then I screw it up. Okay, so what we're going to be looking for, interestingly enough, is I'm going to keep this as if the square footage is accurate from the listing, the 2846. And I'm going to try to, because it doesn't say in the listing description, taxable square footage is higher. But the good news is that we still have access to photos from this listing. Oh my goodness, look at the ceiling. So things that are really important for you guys too. One, I go through this so stinking fast when I'm not teaching, when I'm not live. Like, it's so not even funny. Like, I am talking at lightning speed. I tend to go a little bit slower because otherwise you guys won't be able to keep up. And also because I'm talking the whole time and showing you or telling you what I see. It said it had a 6-year-old roof, right? But there seemed to be a lot of issues. So this is something I would be asking the seller about. Like, does it just need new drywall? I think the note said something about drywall. So I'm assuming they replaced the roof, but they did not get the drywall replaced. So that's important. The other thing I know is they have a mini split here in this bedroom. So there's probably HVAC that's needed. And that makes me want to go back through and verify. We do have an vent here. I would assume the ductwork is run. And so rather than getting that HVAC replaced, they put a mini split in, or maybe the HVAC just wasn't needed more power, not routing correctly, things like that. I see this. I think to myself that they tried to update something. Maybe there was a problem. I'm guessing that's the shed and the listing description. The deck doesn't actually look too bad. I like seeing this because I was questioning that road that we saw. Hello. Sorry. So yeah, this is a couple acres, and that's what we're dealing with. So we know what we're dealing with here. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get to comping. So we are in a distance in an area where if you want active and recent comps, you're just going to have to go ahead and broaden your filters. So I am gonna go at least that low. I might even just do this really quick just to see if there's anything else, which there's not. I might bump that up to I might just keep bumping it up by half a mile until I have like a good little pool to see what we're dealing with here. So then I'm going to go back over here into my data, all on really decent lot sizes with the exception of this last one. Another thing I swear it said is there was 5 bedrooms, but this is recorded as 3. This is another thing I'm noting is that's a 2005 build. And in a subdivision that's ringing bells to me, subdivision. This is also a foreclosure. So probably not going to be an accurate comp. Probably not going to be an accurate comp. Now, that being said, this one is probably also something different. I mean, it is a lot more acres, but not twice the amount of acres. It's not, to me, going to indicate that sales price. So I would imagine there's something more. I would assume that it's some kind of farm or horse property based off of that quick search. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. And I'm just going to keep going out. Another half mile real fast. And then what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look to see if there's anything that's active real fast. And what does that look like? So this is active. Not terribly far from our subject property. A lot less square footage, but it's a 2005 build, 2020 build. And we have this 1975 build. I'm assuming that one's fairly distressed. And this is what I was talking about and trying to see. No access or viewings. Don't disturb the occupant. Only half an acre lot. Interesting. I would assume it's occupied, but I'm assuming it's in pretty bad condition. Maybe worse condition than our subject property. But here's the other thing. It does give you an indicator. It has a lot less square footage and it has a lot less land. Okay. It does give you an indicator though, what that would be going for and like where your price point indicates. I still think you're going to be, if you're in similar condition, you're going to be fairly low there. So continuing on, this kind of looks a lot like our subject property. It's a lot newer, a lot less square footage. So to me, this isn't terribly too far off on what you could turn your subject property into. Although, again, we have a lot more square footage. I'm wondering where all of our square footage is coming from. And some of this is making me wonder if like this is a mobile home just attached. Interesting. That has a really high list price. It might be banking on that land. Okay, so that gives me an indicator at least of like what the competition is somewhat on the active market. And so then again, I'm going to go and I'm going to start digging in through greetings and salutations. 3. I feel like that's a robot. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. So I want to go in order of distance. Again, Mr. Osborne. Good to see you, sir. I mean, I'm just looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, outdated, yes. Not that much more, 400 less. I know that we're not going to have a brick home, but this tells me a lot. This looks like it would qualify, looks livable, has some things that are outdated. Wait, did I just see stair? Okay. Well, it's probably like a sunken living room. This also tells me like you don't have to go to the nines. So what do I mean by that? Gosh, this is so strange. It feels like people are I don't even want to get into this one. I feel like this has like split levels, left, right, and center. And I don't want to get off on that as a tangent. Okay, so this is one of the things I am seeing. I know again this is a lot less square feet, but we kept coming up with like this valuation of the property that was like similar price points, 3 to 300, but this would be our competition in that price point on the market. And I know what you're thinking, like they're not like comps, but like these are important for us to understand what is selling in that price point and what kind of condition is it in. I know these properties don't have the land, but if you make your property look like these, so don't overdo it to a degree, and you have the land, you're going to be in good shape, even though your property is a lot bigger, right? And this is what this is selling for. So all of that to say, you want to kind of see how far away from your subject property those are. That's what's listed on the market as competition. So you kind of want to beat it and be better in several ways if you can. I see what our member was saying here, and that like this is difficult to comp because a lot of these are like 2000s, like you're dealing with subdivisions. These are not like similar properties. So it's almost like if you take out any new construction out of the picture, you're just dealing with a wholly different price point, right? In which you go, okay, let's see if we can find anything that's like that price point once you get into holy moly. Once you get into it, you just they tend to have like a lot more land. And so you have like this huge range in which they're worth about that $250,000, $260,000, with the exception of a handful that seem to have a lot more land. This one being the exception to what I'm saying there. So again, is this that farm? It's not. So I understand like why it's like, okay, well, how do I just really determine a value on this property? I was gonna say I'm not for sure. Oh, there we go. I was gonna say they probably have some kind of water access, land we can't see, ponds, something like that. I just don't think that this gives me enough to really bump it past this price point that I'm seeing in like that 260 area, right? So I feel like a lot of people were extremely aggressive. So what does that say to me? Does that mean 260 is my number? It does not. This one is a little bit difficult. I'm going to explain to you guys why. We have a lot more square footage than some of these, and we also don't want to try to be in competition with something that we cannot have. This is a really good example for us here on Quinley. Where was that? This made me feel pretty good. I don't hate being in that price point if we were doing a full remodel. So I don't think we're incredibly off. So what am I going to do here? I am going to, first and foremost, I am going to remove a lot of these properties that I just don't think are applicable. They might be more of the as-is or current market value comps. I'm also not going to include these that are just not applicable. We're not getting in that price point or that price point for an after repair value. All of these seem feasible and reasonable. Maybe we take away that below. We're taking these away for sure. And let's see what we have here. We have 10 properties selected. I like kind of having this different data point. And I want to look at this average price per square foot here. What does that tell me? We're at 148. That would mean our property value would, if we did price per square foot, we would be in that 400 range. If we really just went all out, I don't think we should. I don't think an investor would want to. From what I'm seeing here, it's not going to turn this property into one of those properties. Plus, we're dealing with a lot of additional work on the exterior to have that kind of appeal. And then you're also talking about the neighbors. When I went through the neighbors, I didn't see anybody who just took their property and like went so extremely overboard. Now, it does look to me like so much of this is salvageable. Like you just don't need to go overboard. So where I think a lot of times people go wrong when they're comping is they're trying to look for that insane highest possible justifiable value, but then they're not giving it enough rehab, and they're not also considering like, hey, that's probably not the best way to exit this property, right? Because when I come in here, we're not in a neighborhood that has houses that look like that. We're in a neighborhood where this is the first thing you see when you're trying to pull down the road. These are the neighbors, right? So, you know, people don't want to spend $400,000 to get some of these properties. Like the properties finishes should look like this. You shouldn't go beyond that. You're not trying to put $1 million property here on this lot, and you don't want your end buyer to give you that kind of feedback. So, gosh, I moved my keyboard off my thing. So what am I doing here? I would need to verify that square footage issue. I know that, you know, on the rehab calculator, you're going to be looking to add exterior cosmetics. This is, again, one of those things where I'm like, I just think that this property will never justify that amount. I actually am thinking most people will not want to put more than $70,000 inside and out on a property here. And therefore, I don't think you get a $325,000 product necessarily with that kind of finish out, right? Not according to like these comps. I think that you would have to put a lot more into the interior and exterior. And so I personally would be extremely conservative in my rehab plan, my finish outs, and I would probably put this at like, I would probably put this at like a 290 number. Here's the reason why, guys, because at some point you're the big man on the block and you're selling for the square footage and the acreage you get. You're selling for less than, you're a better product on the market, but this is not a property you also want to go put $120,000 into a remodel. You want to have a good end product. So I'm going to be dropping my expectations for what this will list at, because there's going to be things I don't do. And then it's going to be really rough to just have higher end finishes, maybe redo some of that siding and that curb appeal and things like that. You have a really good property at the end of the day when you put that in there. Now, what does that mean? You can say the seller is asking 140. This is not going to cut it, right? Not in this location. There's not enough potential profit here. And so you're going to have to explain to that seller, like, I really kind of need to be at a different price point for this to make sense, for me to go ahead and do all of that work, etc., etc. So without spending all of my time going into, I don't feel like it is the easiest property to comp and get to a logistical value. And I think that this is like actually, and like I said, I didn't look at this property at whatsoever. The member just said, I think this would be a really good learning opportunity for people on a live. This property is a little bit complicated. And I said, bet, hold my beer. And so I absolutely agree with that assessment, that it could be very easy for you when you're comping this property to be like, 260. Would I be mad if that was the value? No. 315. Totally understand that. Not mad if that's the value that you came up with. We've got a situation where this is a unique property. This is in an area. So a lot of people always ask about rural properties. And I'm like, I can almost guarantee you with movement in this market, this is why we call them comp guidelines. It doesn't have to be in the same neighborhood. Like, this is all the same neighborhood. Like, these are on couple acre lots, 3 acre lots, 4 acre lots. But some of them, you've got to make sure that you understand, like, when you have to go out further in that distance, one of the things that I don't initially look on when I'm looking at that map, I'm looking at the immediate, right? Oh, that's not what I want to do. Let's go back to satellite. I'm starting to see rivers. You know, if you go too far out, you're going to end up with properties that maybe I don't actually know where this is, but maybe there's mountains. Oh, you're not that far from the Gulf Coast, actually. You know, like, you'll see rivers, probably more than one, creeks, things like that start to pop up where these are like added benefits with water access, so on and so forth. So all of that to say, you have to be really cognizant of what you're looking at when you start to see some properties that are like 4 or 5 acres and they're selling for 600,000. Like, they have something that your property is not going to turn into, especially whenever our little lot layout is kind of weird. And that's why that street view is super important. And that's why that layered view is super important, because, you know, it might be kind of nice, but what is this? Where's our driveway? And so this isn't a driveway. There's properties of there's another property over here, and we can't see with that like little, it's like almost a little mini neighborhood. So sometimes you get into sub-markets of markets, and I feel like this is a sub-market of a fast enough moving market. I don't feel like this is going to be, if we were to look, I don't feel like it's going to be so rural that we're not going to get in buyers for a property like that. But you might plan on having more days on market, things like that. So you just have to be super aware of what you're dealing with when you have to actually broaden up your filters. Because a lot of times people don't broaden up their filters enough to realize that they still have a very movable deal. They really can solve this seller's issue when they're getting the comp. So the numbers vary based on repairs and the area. The numbers always vary by how much you put into the property, because it leaves you with what is your end product, right? So the way that I always like to explain this, gosh, how is my hair getting, it must be super humid today. I'm getting the frizzes, y'all. What does this mean? It's a sliding scale. I've been talking for hours in front of this camera today, y'all. I have to keep drinking waters. Okay, so What does this mean? This means that sometimes you can make a property where it can qualify for a loan and it will sell at X amount of dollars. But you also have properties that have been upgraded to have better features, whether it's finishes, or maybe it has a better lot, the exterior, maybe it looks like show home ready. These are things you'll see usually in neighborhoods that are a little bit older, and people have come in and, like, because of the location, proximity to whatever city, shopping, blah 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 blah, neighborhoods, price points, school districts, all kinds of things can impact that, right? So what do we need to understand about the market, the end product, the investor experience, the flipper experience? We need to understand that sometimes I, as a flipper, will look at numbers and say, well, I see properties in this neighborhood that will sell for $250, and I see properties that will sell for $325. Properties that are selling for $325 have more money put into them. So they have a bit more upgrades, they have better finishes. Properties that are selling in the $250 range, they qualify for loans, which means they probably have the big six taken care of. It means they probably have, maybe some updates really well kept, not super, super, super outdated, but not like that, portfolio or TV level finish. And so what do I want to do? Well, I want to put, hey, I did an example of this in the implementation call today where I felt like my subject property would move faster at a lower price point, and I would make the same profit. It's lower ARV, lower rehab, same amount of profit. So it'll move faster, so I'll make more money. Which one am I going to do as a flipper? I'm going to make the same amount of money, but put less time, risk, effort, rehab, days on market on that property. I'm going to turn my money faster. I'm going to choose that plan. It also gives me a potential backup plan if I need to go, okay, fine. Buyers want me to lower that price by $5,000 or put in new counters. Maybe it'll sell better. Like, it gives you a backup plan. I'm always going to take the path of least resistance to make the same amount of money as a flipper, because you're taking less risk. And that means you've made a good investment if you have those options. Your ARV is not necessarily always the highest number you can justify. When you run into a situation like this where you have a big man on the block, you absolutely have a cap to that neighborhood in the price point, in which I always say it like this. People don't want $500,000 house in a $250,000 neighborhood. They don't want to spend $500,000 on a house to live in a neighborhood. Why? Because it impacts the value of their home, what the market is willing to pay. You see less of that because you see more variety when these aren't in like cookie cutter neighborhoods. The less dense the population, aka the bigger the lots get, the little bit more outside of town they get. So the less dense the population, the more variety you tend to see. But like here in Fort Worth, for example, we have a lot of neighborhoods that are literally a Fort Worth zip code, and you have 2-acre lots, right? Very easy to comp. Place like this, these are not HOA. These are not like those neighborhoods. They're all different. You can do what you want with the property, right? So you see a variety of things, and like you just kind of have to understand, like, people aren't spending more for those properties in that neighborhood. Now, one of the things that also can help you, I'll pull this back up. Can y'all see my screen? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I'll just reset all the filters. Let me zoom in here. Okay. So sometimes I like to have Zillow up so I can just like see this. I know we are not filtering this, right? But again, like if I'm looking in this market, uh this looks more attractive to me as a buyer than my subject property. But what does it look like on the street view? I don't have as much land. I don't have as much privacy. Maybe I'm okay with that. Maybe a lot of buyers are, right? I personally can tell you this much. Like, weird story, but I have 3 dogs, if you don't know that. And I am looking for a house with where my fence doesn't touch my neighbor, right? This is like real. This is real life Cassie. Um, I might, I don't want to share a fence with a neighbor because like I'm over it, right? I don't need to have 5 acres of land. So some of the houses on the street might be candidates for me, some of them might not, right? That's just my truth. They just price cut that to 15,000, by the way. This property, less square footage, probably one of those ones that had more acres, 5 acres. Really banking on those acres. We have 3 less acres, a lot less square footage, probably a lot more acres. You see what I'm saying? So, like, you just don't have like a lot of cookie cutter stuff going on here. Like, oh, we did look at this one. You don't have a lot of cookie cutter stuff going on here. So you can't be so stuck in the fact that you have to be in the same exact price point range. You have to be in the same exact square footage range. But you just like I said, if you went with your average price per square foot of the properties that I selected, you'd be sitting at 400 something for the value of this property. So like if you go up to over 300, like if you're not including these that have clearly something extra about them, whether it's all the extra acreage, lake on the property, creek access, river access, I don't know. But the bottom line is what it's telling you is that you get capped at a certain price point. I mean, you just do. I would say the finishes are probably going to be most similar in a property like this, except for the fact that this is brick. This is not expensive material. You make your subject property look similar to this. I mean, we already have the same kind of countertops. Ours are probably in better condition from the looks of it. I don't feel like our kitchen is that far off from this. We need, some serious drywall and paint work in ours, some serious flooring. We need some work on the exterior to make it prettier. We probably need every bit of that $70,000 to make it sell like this. We do have a lot more square footage, a little bit less land, similar build year. But there are people who, again, they came in here, they updated all of this. This estimated value is 290. Oh man, I lost what it sold for there. Anyways, you got to get my point. You don't want to get over a certain price point to where you have priced yourself out of the market. You've put so much money into this property that it's going to be sitting on the market price dropping for a year, and you're going to end up selling it at 300 if you're lucky anyways, because you stigmatize the property at that point, right? So it's just extremely important that you guys are aware of those values. I find this also really interesting, like just because I have to. Sorry, this very much reads mobile home to me, but maybe not. I can't tell if those are real or fake. I feel like this is a mobile home, so it's a lot less square footage, a lot less acres, but it is a 2025. Yeah. So I'm just saying I would be really conservative on this regardless, but things like that make me feel really good about putting less rehab in to be able to list this at 295, right? Our subject property. I hope that makes sense. We definitely have sold properties in, but I don't know if anybody else has answered you. I don't want to tell you that. But we also have members that have too, not just us. Take number 9 out. I'm not tripping on it. I don't feel like you're gonna get exact numbers until you are thanks. I don't think you're gonna get, I mean, I did drop it a few thousand. I don't think you're gonna get exact numbers on a property like, oh gosh, I'm not showing my screen anymore. I don't think you're gonna get exact numbers on a property like this. Your buyers are gonna come back even with different numbers and different plans. They're gonna put different amounts into it. They're gonna have those things like even when you get photos back as a virtual wholesaler, you might shift your numbers a little bit. This is why I would write it up conservatively to begin with. But then again, they're dealing with a seller on this that is not realistic. Like they were asking something to the effect of 285 for as is condition. And it's just absolutely, absolutely, absolutely nowhere even close. So all of that to say, the truth of the matter is when I'm comping in real time, I'm not going into that level of detail until I know that my seller is motivated enough for me to get specific on the numbers. And even on a property like this, like when you're doing that additional level of due diligence and you're getting into those numbers, maybe you're fine tuning them. Maybe it ends up being 305. Maybe it ends up being 285, but you're going to probably tweak it as you go through the process. After you get photos back, after you talk to some buyers in that area, they're going to get offers. And this is one of those that they're going to want you to see conservative numbers. One of the most important things I didn't see here in this one, and I like this one because I get to go into details. One of the things I didn't see or look into is the type of properties that we're selling for 42. It looks like there's a cemetery. Actually, it looks like there was a tear down. I'm just being a little facetious. I didn't see a whole lot selling much lower than I'm recommending that I had photos of, and I'm wondering if some of those are more teardowns or smaller lots. I feel really comfortable at those numbers on that first pass, right? I'm sure that some buyers in this would run numbers and end up listing this property at like 325 or maybe even potentially higher just because of the square footage. I'm still not tracking on where the square footage exists. So this is also one of those things I would end up talking to the seller about, like, where is all this square footage? I'm looking through these photos. Like, where's all this square footage? Am I missing something? Am I comping the wrong property? Like, there does not appear to be 3,200 square feet in this thing at all, or 2,800. Like, this is a very small kitchen for a 2,800 square foot house. In my experience, I'm not this is not reading 2,800 square feet to me. I don't understand it, but then again, uh-oh, I have to sneeze. Sorry if I sneeze really loud. That's not giving 2,800 square foot, so I feel like, dang it, I forgot to show it again. I told y'all I'm rusty. I was going through the photos again on the property. I forgot to share. This is not giving 2,800 square feet to me. So I'm asking all kinds of questions in reality. And the numbers may actually look very different in real life than what we're getting here on this, to be honest with you. So, okay. So I am going to now try to see if I can pull up your property that maybe I was tagged in a comp review. I'm not seeing it. In the comp portal, I am not seeing. Unless you're saying, Tuan, you didn't tag me, but you just put it in the new comps. That room was small. Yeah, I feel like they were. Thank you. I am the goat of comping. I like that better than the queen. As a sports lover. Do you want me to comp this property that's in Dwight, Kansas? Is that what you're hoping for? I will absolutely, if you want me to. It's okay that you didn't tag me. I just wasn't sure which property. And we have 9 new comp reviews in the portal. So holler at me if you want me to comp that one on this live, or if you were asking if I would comp it in the portal, not on this live. If you don't remember how to do it, how to do what, brother? Okay, I'm looking at it. We're going to comp. You've got like 2 minutes to stop me before I start sharing my screen. Oh my gosh, no, I now know why you're saying you forgot how to do it, because you didn't. Oh, brother. Oh, brother, you didn't put your G Drive link in there. You didn't send your screenshots. You don't got a square footage or year build. You missed all these boxes. You missed all these boxes. Photos, okay. Okay. Well, you could put new you could resubmit it. You could put new screenshots and stuff like that. All right, we're gonna get into it. Unless I look over here and you're like, no. Yeah, that's okay. I forgive you, because we're gonna do it on this live. Okay, Kansas is always fun. Oh, Kansas. So we're in Dwight, Kansas. So when Cassie sees Kansas, we want to see, what is this? Railroad tracks. Railroad tracks are very close. We want to make sure we're comping other properties that have about the same proximity to a state highway or Highway 57, as well as these railroad tracks. The further away from those you get, the higher that value is going to be. This is also a very small town in Kansas. It looks like, I'm not familiar with Dwight that I can recall. I feel like, oof, this is really ringing a bell to me. I feel like Junction City is the closest one I see where I can confidently confirm. We've done a wholesale deal. Kansas, you have to be extremely careful. You want to be with this is where rural becomes important, okay? Your proximity in a super small town, proximity to a super small town indicates a lot. These railroad tracks actually might be just something that people are used to living with here. Seems like really small town Kansas. Yay. Oh. So somebody already tried to start fixing this thing up. We have a 1-car garage back there. I wonder. Yeah. This is just probably, I'm going to venture a guess that you're going to end up offering way less than the seller's going to ask for on this property. Not to be any type of way, but this is captured June 2025. This is captured in 2014. This is what it looked like in 2014. This is what it looks like now. So 11 years on that fence. It looks like a whole different fence, doesn't it? They've obviously stripped off like that vinyl. It was probably vinyl siding. Put in some new windows. I don't know how I feel about that roof, but somebody was trying to fix this place up. You can see you still have the garage type of situation back there. And then I'm just going to do a quick look-sees. Uh-oh. I clicked on something I wasn't supposed to. That's funny, Quinn. They're 20 minutes from town, yeah. What is this? How do I get rid of this stupid comment? I got a spam. I don't know how to remove it. Someone ask RJ. Or just ignore that one. Okay. This is concerning, my dear. So one of the things I mentioned in the last video, one of the things I mentioned in the last comp that I was looking at, it's really concerning when you just don't have a whole lot of activity in your town. So hopefully what you're seeing is some activity like in here, and things like that, but we don't see a whole lot of activity there. So we want to look. I guarantee that's a lot of acres. $1 for 152 acres. That's an interesting strategy, but it's not the only one I'm seeing. I guess they're just trying to motivate people to make offers. Like, maybe I should buy some land in Kansas. An auction. So they're auctioning off stuff. Like, they can't get rid of it fast enough here. I'm just going to tell you, I wouldn't put a whole lot of time, effort, or energy into this. I'm already like extremely concerned about the movability of this property, right? Sorry, I lost the dang old address. Oh, for Pete's sake, hold please. Bear with me. Okay. Let me look into some of these details. We're gonna have to probably really go broad on this. This is absolutely atrocious. This is where I would say you're too rural. I would not think that you're a good fit for this. Like, almost to the point where I found some properties that sold. I would question otherwise that, like, there was something wrong with the system. We weren't able to pull from public records here, something to that effect. I've got everything active, pending, sold, etc. Now, these 3 are sold. We're saying ours is 952 square feet. Like, that's what also another thing about it. So going really broad, let's just go ahead and say this one sold for 92. It has like super outdated drop ceilings, like awful. But you see what I'm saying? Like, it's just not a good investment area. This is not somewhere you're going to be looking for. And you see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like this is a decent comp, even though it's got like a lot more square footage. But yeah, I mean, it's like 1900, like it's a lot to update that kind of property. Now, if I were to go back and look and see like where the numbers were on this, like, I'm just letting you know right now, I cannot imagine spending a whole lot of time on this, telling the seller I'm anywhere near a good fit. The seller is like already put money into this. I think that you're going to need every single stinking bit of rehab money that you're going to need to get everything qualifiable. I don't remember how many square feet it was. I'm not super tripping about it. Like, there's just no way you don't put at least $40,000 into this property to get everything rocking and rolling. I haven't seen the photos because I don't have photos. So how much are they asking for this property? Like, it's not a good place to invest. You might get a buyer. Makes sense. Now, like, you could say, well, what would it rent for? Well, I don't think this is a fast moving market. Like, you might not even be able to sell it for 10 grand. You know what I'm saying? So this is just not a property that I'm going to invest a whole lot of time into getting the numbers perfect, because you're not going to rent it as a rental. You're probably going to be having a hard time finding buyers that will even buy out there. And then not to mention, like, it's like a ghost town, you know? I'm not saying I've never done it. I guess the last thing I can say, sorry, I can't type anymore. Yeah, I have actually wholesaled the deal. And not to an owner occupant. I've actually wholesaled a deal in a town of 250, but this one would break a record. So all of that to say, people always ask me, maybe I should write down the date. How rural is too rural? This is too rural for me to attempt as a wholesaler. I may tell this seller, you know, I don't remember what they're asking, like I said, but it's going to be extremely low. Their best bet might be to list this on the MLS, try to get people from nearby towns, maybe a realtor from a nearby town that will list this. It's just not going to be a good use of your time to try and wholesale, to be honest, because you're going to be mostly targeting investors, so you have to tell them how they're going to make money. If you're anywhere near that price, you're going to probably still have a hard time getting investors motivated to go invest their money there with the nearby towns that make so much more sense. Unless there was something crazy that they knew. I've seen it happen. I've seen crazier things happen. Something that they knew that was going to boost the town's population, something nearby. I didn't even look and see how far it was to Junction City. Ooh, excuse me, guys. But all that to say, not a whole lot going on there. Not a high chance, not a high probability of success for wholesaling in that market, if that makes sense. Okay, now is the time, my loves. That is looking like a dispo nightmare. I mean, honest to goodness, I will say this, guys. This is not something, just because I say I have done it does not mean I want to do it. Okay. I'm going to want to justify that. It does not mean I train my team to take on JV deals like that, try and make $500. I don't want that, or I don't want my dispo team doing that on JVs. I don't even want to do it on acquisitions. The only event in which I started really working with our team was we did it for the 50-50-50. We talked about that during both of the 50-50-50s. We're a little bit more picky about it in the second one, just because it was a butt whooping. And it really was. Like, I just don't want to spend our time just, having to hammer, every now and then we would take one and on the 50-50-50. And the reason why RJ and I would do that is because a part of doing the 50-50-50s was to show you guys that it can be done. Like, you don't have to be in a population of XYZ, like all these people are telling you to wholesale. Now, that doesn't mean I'm targeting places like Kansas to, to be our target market or anything, but it's just, without doing some of the deals that we have done historically, we wouldn't have a lot of the skill sets. We wouldn't have we wouldn't be able to teach, in intricate detail at such a deeper level than other people who haven't done those types of things could do. Like, we put ourselves in crazy situations in the 50-50-50 so that we would be able to have like a true, it wouldn't be just theory, you know what I mean? Coming from Texas, like in our story, we have a lot of experience with all kinds of different markets and sub-markets. And so this was probably helpful to us on our journey, especially during that first 50-50-50. It was wild. But we had already done real estate in a lot of different states at that point, and we'd already learned a lot about doing things in different types of markets. So I can't say that I would even have taken this one on as my 250 person town. I think that one was a little bit had a little bit more going on, like directly around it. But this is giving me all of the no's. Like, you're not the best solution for this person. You're probably just going to be tying them up. I think they should absolutely list, especially when I see things like they're auctioning off land and starting at $1 just to get anybody interested in getting properties in that area. This is something like I actually see a lot of in Kansas, in small Kansas. So sometimes in Oklahoma too, and sometimes in the most rural parts of Texas. So all right, guys, so we're gonna do this really fast. For those of you who are saving an address, I'm not going to be able to underrate it because for a good part, but I will at least comp it live. So you can now put your addresses in the chat. I'm not going to do this for the next 2 hours. I've already been going for a little hour and 40 minutes or so, hour and 45 minutes at this point. So we're going to do a speed round. I won't be able to underwrite it, but if you're still here and you have an address and you want me to comp it, let's roll. Put it in the comments. All right. Easy stream. I love that. 365. That's the lowest we'll go. Excuse me. Oh, they want it. Hey, Steve, you're welcome. Okay, so this is listed as the FISBO. Let's get this party started.
Yeah, if we did 330 straight to them.
You have it listed as, you have it under contract? You should probably tell your seller to mark it as under contract.
How much do you want?
I will actually be able to potentially underwrite this one. Just because this one happens to have photos.
Okay. What's the number they want?
Okay. Boop, 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 boop. So you're saying the buyer's number is very different than your number. I can't. I mean, there's just not a whole lot of room for discrepancy on this. I mean, I feel like comps 1 through 7 should be fairly clear. This might be a busier road, but we've got one that sold at 225 here. So I'm assuming this all has to do with level of finish out. I mean, this is not crazy. So I mean, this is pretty cut and dry, in my opinion. Can't imagine this is very different. We got a 3-bedroom there. This is where bedrooms might come into play. We talked about that earlier too. Brick might be a little, have some more features. So I'm not loving that necessarily as a comp so far. I do love this as a comp, 21975. I mean, I don't really feel like my ARV is gonna be overly in the 200s, just because I don't have a lot of, like, I have more data supporting this price point, and like we have a lot less square footage than a couple of these. I know it's not that much, but we also have more square footage than a couple of these. I know it's not that much, but it's like we have a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom. Like we're $5,000, just check that off, right? But most of them are 2-1s. For me, like, if I'm buying this, my comps are gonna lean on 185, and this is, you know what I'm saying? I know that one is less square footage. However, I may not go as nice, but I'm not trying to sell at the highest price. I'm not trying to sell it like this brick one or whatever this one is over here, because it is crossing over. It might be a little bit different of a location, but I'm gonna lean right into, this is your first contract. He gave you an offer for 84. The buyer's comp is 175. Yeah, I agree. And look, I have no idea. So this is definitely, again, you'll have to forgive me a little bit. I'm definitely not leaning on the 2 highest comps here. I'm looking for the most common data, and that's your end buyer. Their comp saying 175. I absolutely can't argue with them. If I'm looking at that, here's how I'm underwriting this in general. No, this is just going, like I said, I would go up to like 185 potentially. And that's kind of justifiable because of the square footage. Maybe like we have a little bit more square footage than some of these that sold at 175, right? And so we have like 820 whatever square feet. Whoops. Whatever it said. Blah blah blah. I mean, I'm putting a solid, you can lean on 40. I didn't really look at all the conditions, so on and so forth. You said they offered you 84 as an end buyer. Like that is like exactly what I teach people to aim for. That is exactly what I teach people to aim for. That is in the web. Your profit in this price point as an end buyer being right around what you would put into it. They might only put 35 into it. So let's say this is what their numbers look like, right? They might only have to do this. Like I'm not going back into like this is a good deal no matter which way you shake it. So where you're going to be probably struggling, and what I would imagine is if you looked at these $240,000 comps, or you went outside of this neighborhood, things like that, you could probably get more supporting activity kind of up here. No, not really. In this square footage range. And I don't like having to expand here. We have very consistent data here with two comps that sold for higher for specific reasons. Like if we're looking at this, it's this yard, it's this built-in deck, it's this a little bit more square footage, it's the brick house, like it's the structure, it's something, the new one, I don't know, the sunroom, it's got a closed-in porch, I know it's not as, it's like some outdated features like that need updating, but like those things are cosmetic, and like sometimes you're going to just find like this is to some people a better purchase due to location or things like that, the structure, etc. So because it's like an outlier or the highest comp, like this is what you should be getting, this signal in your brain to say something is different about that. Same thing here. Something is different about this one. Like I love like that all these have like these original hardwood floors, things like that. But this one has been flipped. Again, it has the I got a little greenhouse. One thing I didn't get into is basements. I don't know. Maybe it's not taking up some of that livable square footage, things like that. This might be in the a little historic district. I don't know. You could probably look into it and find out. But I have really consistent data telling me that 175, 185, whatever, whichever way you want to swing it, that price point is really good for this property, right? So I will say, the last thing I will say, the fact that you have a buyer offering you only $11,000 less than this is currently listed for as a FSBO is like a really good sign. Like I'd figure out how to take it, because this does look like it needs quite a bit of cosmetic work. But Columbia, like you get stuff moving and grooving. There's a demand for properties and good projects here, I would say. And these character pieces in Columbia, in my experience, this property probably in this area probably have a lot of good character. And that's a really affordable price point, to be perfectly honest with you. So I love like neighborhoods like that. So Liz, I think that you should definitely not feel, how do I say this? I wouldn't feel like this is the buyer that's giving you pushback to try to like see how low you'll go. They're not playing. I don't feel like they're playing negotiating games with you and telling you an ARV that they're not actually planning to list the property for that as their ARV, run their numbers like that as an ARV. So I hope that helps. And I'm really happy to do live comping with you. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Okay, we've got another one. Let me pull that one up. I guess those other people that were on here didn't make it to the end. So this might be my, oh, no, I have another one in Memphis for Twan. These might be my last two because I have to take a biological break and go be human. And my eyes are starting to hurt and my voice is starting to go out from talking so much consistently. I guess it's good practice. Guys, while I am pulling this one up, I want to tell you guys something that the public doesn't know because I can't stop talking about it. My team and my community in Titanium University, we're fixing to have our first in-person event. And so we're going to get to meet so many of our team members. I'm going to get emotional again. I'm not going to cry. Not going to cry. I am so excited about it. And maybe me talking and going live or being in front of the camera so long today is good practice because I'll be in front of all of everybody for 2 days straight without with trying to talk the whole time. I always lose my voice. But I'm super excited about that. And I'm not going to be able to stop talking to everybody. I will probably very much plan to lose my voice. I have to get lozenges so I can coach the next day and people can understand me. Can y'all hear RJ in the background as proof that he's not golfing? Liz, I think you did a good job. Actually, no, Liz, this is just for TU members. I'm excited to see you. Do I shun away from properties that need structural work? No, not necessarily. So we are speaking at Wholesale Syndicate in about a month in San Antonio, and I'm really excited for that event. So if you guys, that will be meeting all kinds of people. We are having a little pop-up for TU members. We're just going to go to dinner with them that night that are coming to that event. That's just a month away, but we're actually hosting our first in-person TU because TU is virtual every day. Well, weekdays, every day. And it's virtual. And so the only time we've met members that aren't local to us for the most part has just been by having little pop-ups when we're, traveling to be at an event. So this is an event that, or when we had boot camps back in the day before we opened TU, we met several members there and they joined. So Liz, we were supposed to be, but I have a feeling something out of our control has happened that we're going to have to replace ourselves at that event. I don't know how else to say that. I don't think that we're going to be able to work around it. But I still have to verify a couple of things first, but I don't think we're actually going to be able to. That's why we haven't really been telling people the past couple of weeks until we're sure, but it's not looking good, which is super sad because we really wanted to be at that one as well. Okay, I want to make sure I have this right. So stay tuned, but we will be there a month before that in San Antonio. at Wholesaling Syndicate. Okay, I want to make sure I have this Denison. I just Is this Griffin's? I recognize that picture. Yeah. I don't know why I didn't show the address. Okay. Are you ready? Let's go. We're going to get this one. And there was one more in Tennessee, I swear. Twan had. But again, here I am scrolling through the comments trying to... Yes, you should. You should. I'm so sorry. I know. This is the first time that's ever happened to us, where we're just like, oh my gosh, we're committed to an event. We're supposed to be openers, and we've had to potentially break hearts. Like, oh goodness. I lost the Tennessee one. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm scrolling back up because I want to get this Tennessee one down too. These will be the last two that I do. And I'm going to fly through these because you all are both TU members. And I love you. But you're going to speak my language. I really also have to tinkle. All right. Let's go. Denison, Texas. Griffins, I think this is yours. Thanks all for staying and hanging out. I don't even know how many people are ever watching this. Makes it. Yeah, I remember the first times that I went live, I was like so uncomfortable. I'm like, it just feels weird, like I'm talking to myself. And RJ's like, you're not gonna need to worry about that. Super funny. Oof. Interesting. What am I dealing with here? Hall Street. Interesting. This feels really small. Is this a church? An apartment building? Weird. Really busy commercial, not loving that. We need to be extremely cognizant of that when we're comping. Where is our subject property? Right here.
All right.
Okay.
Deal sold.
These are probably rentals. Yeah.
I'd love to do 330 net down, but we did a prorated taxes and we come before the cost of the. So that's a net number then minus prorated.
What am I looking at here? I swear I already looked at this. Did I already look at this property? Oh no, this is the I know what happened. Griffins, I looked at this in the implementation call. This is the wrong one that I looked at it. That's funny. I know what I did here. Remember, I was like, oh, there's consistent data left and right. Brother, you don't need me to comp. You got this comp. I'm already sticking down here because I'm not trying to overdo it on my subject property. This one has an apartments building next door to it and everything. You know what I mean? I'm just going straight with it just because of the apartment, the commercial down the road. I'm not overdoing it as a buyer, right? I'm looking at this as a buyer. I'm already sticking in that 150 right there, straight up, not playing. I'm not even trying to go in no 200s. There's a ton of freaking comps, and like honestly, like you're probably gonna want to look at this one. Like it, this is clearly a good rental property area, and like I would look at it. Yeah, exactly. This is the other one. I was like, I know I've seen that comp right there. I remember the picture of this one that I pulled up. Super funny. I was like, I've seen this today, even, Going back to this with you, make sure you get the bedroom and bathroom count since it's not recorded. I mean, this one's pretty cut and dry for me. I didn't read, like, obviously, but like you could probably sit there and say 150 to 160. Depending on get your rehab, will get your house looking like these other houses right here. I'm not even gonna dig into it like that much. I know you're gonna sit here and y'all are gonna be like, why aren't you looking at some of these? Oh, look, 255. Oh, right, that's why. I should do better because I'm teaching right now. I don't want to teach you bad habits. I don't be like I'm acting like RJ when he's teaching people to comp right now. I'm making sure to stick on this side of the road. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if this property number 4 on Hull Street like was like a very again like that's our comp. It's on the other side of the road. I understand that, but I guarantee you it has like same proximity to this street, commercial, blah blah. So I'm leaning towards like this is probably either super distressed, that's a rental, like boom, boom, boom. Probably not a comp if we dig into it type of thing. Maybe not as done up type of thing. I'm not like going like over the top about like making my comps perfect. Like this is like similar neighborhoods, 3-1. It's less square footage, cool. Like it's probably adjustable up to like 155, where this had a little distress spot, whatever. Like we're in this range. You might look at something like this. Okay, that might not be the cutest, but it's got cool features. Well, it's also not like 2 steps away from a Jack in the Box, and a 6-lane road, like, that might be why it sold for more. I'm not tripping either way. Like I'm straight in like that 155, 160 area. Yeah, you done good. It does have that 3-bedroom. You done good. Your ARVs are not out of the ballpark. You had great rehab earlier. On the other property I looked at, I mean, you're killing it, dude. You're killing it. Like, next time I'm gonna make you like get excited in front of all of us because you are so like even kill. Like, you're not Mr. Animated, Mr. Loud. At least not when you're on my implementation calls. Watch me get on one of RJ's implementation calls and you're in there like with all the loudness and all the animation. All right. Twan, here we go. Are you still on here? Bryce said these are the last 2 I was going to do because I've been going 2 hours. I'm sorry. I got to have a cutoff point. Inevitably, somebody always comes in at the end, and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I got to have a cutoff. Okay, Twan, ready? Let's, oh, I already did that. Ooh, I'm not seeing a Zillow address. Maybe I won't need it. Is this a vacant land? Logan, ARV is so subjective. Every home buyer will have a different ARV. Just try and be in the ballpark. So that's what I mean. You bring up a really good point. Like, we don't call it ballpark, we call it web, and we call it, okay, like if your ARV is 175 and I'm seeing 185, let's talk about the comps. You know, you have a higher square footage, more bedrooms, more bathrooms than that 2-1. So I know it's sold for 175. So you want to say 175, but the market will actually probably give you 185 for this. This is why we have another bedroom, we have a garage, we have a whatever. You know, so just if you're that close, you know, then you talk to your buyers because they're very speak their language, right? Speak about why they could have a higher ARV, or say, yeah, I understand you see that too, and you want to be a little bit more conservative and putting it on the market. Whatever, you want to move it faster, whatever, right? But it is so subjective because why? Because you get different rehab estimates, you know, because you know, like how they're looking at comps. What you want to do is be able to talk about it with that buyer. You know, some buyers will be able to accept different levels of profit. Like, I'll just give you an example. Some of my cohorts might wholesale property and they might accept, you know, making $30,000, whereas I won't even look at anything unless I have a potential to make 35 grand, right? So I may offer you something a little bit lower on a wholesale than somebody else will. If it's across town, I'm probably not doing it. You know, like different buyers have different needs, but my comps are going to be really, really justified as an end buyer on how I'm exiting the property. Here's the other thing, you know, with what I looked at earlier. After repair value is contingent upon how much in repairs you put into the property. So some people might not be going for, you know, $160,000 ARV on that last example. They might be going for 140 and do no work, you know. That doesn't, you see, this is why we talk to buyers about, like, okay, well, if you have a lower ARV, that must mean you're putting less into it, or you see something that I don't see. And I'm getting into this though, this comp show. You see something that I don't see, so like, talk to me. What is your plan? How much money are you planning to put in this property, or what's work you're going to put into it? Because that's where I would see justifying a lower ARV, or you know something I don't know. Yeah. So that being said, I just chop it up with your buyers, guys. But yours should always be justifiable, right? With proven, with data. Some crazy, some areas drive you crazy to comp in. I get that. Trust. I don't really have that problem anymore, but that's because I made sure I don't have this problem. Tuan, is this land? Vacant land, brother. Ugh. Ugh. I don't know how well this is going to go on this platform in Memphis. And my dog also has to pee. Titus is outside of my door whining. I mean, I didn't even have to go out very far on this to get pretty consistent comps. So I don't feel like this is probably, you know, ideal wholesale price point for vacant land. I don't know. I mean, without like digging into looking at it, I mean, some of it you might be so close to market value that it's just so rough. I mean, it depends on what you can get it at. If you can get it for free, you might be able to make a little money. I don't use Speedily comps, Logan. I don't do anything that doesn't require the human comping. they're probably sometimes accurate. They're probably sometimes a whole shit show. It's based off of a robot. I mean, is it any better than any algorithm? I don't really know. You know, we've had like a long relationship with Speed to Lead. Before they even had like there's a website. You know, we beta tested on their leads as one of the benefits to us and them. And but we worked through some hellish stuff in that beta testing, and all of that to say they did not approach me to test their comp stuff, probably because they know I'm going to teach that human element. They're not like, they realize like that probably, like if you utilize anything like that, like, or anything like this, you're just subject to screwing up. Like you need to be able to go beyond that. I'm not saying it's never right, but I'm definitely not going to encourage you to utilize it as the end all be all. Becky, thank you so much. Unfortunately, I am cutting you guys off because I've gone on for 2 hours and 20 minutes. Should have gone for 2 hours and 2 hours and 22 minutes is what I should have gone. But I can't hold it anymore. I gotta go. I can't stay on here all day. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for comping with me today. Thank you for taking whatever value I have here to offer you. I appreciate you guys. And I don't know if you came in the last minute and entered some comps. Maybe you should tell RJ that next time he goes live, or maybe we should have a show where we do this a little bit more on the regular. I don't know. Maybe once a month I should come on here and do comps. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. I kind of got away from doing it for a long time. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you for following. Make sure you give my partner all the love. Smash that like button, and I'll see you guys next time.